Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Small Talk. Just a quick market and economy update. We all know that we had a CPI report yesterday, and the CPI data looked almost on the surface, at least. The core CPI looked below the expectations, obviously, which is kind of nice for the stock market. However, and that's why stock market was rallying yesterday, but then it started collapsing in the afternoon because Trump had announced that he is going to sue Jerome Powell. I'll get to that next. Let's just do the economic update first. So the CPI report, core CPI report was better than expected. It was cooler than what the analyst had expected. Also, month over month CPI was cooler as well than expected. You probably already know the numbers. I won't go into much detail because I want to make this video very short and precise. Um, but if you look at the underlying items, we do realize that some of the consumer everyday products that we use, the prices are already going up because of Trump tariff. So the prices have gone up significantly. For example, the groceries, the apparel, also shoes, and all those like basic everyday needs. The prices have gone up. So which is kind of concerning for the economist. Once the CPI report was released, market is expecting 101% rate cut in September. If you watch my videos regularly, you know I've always been saying that Jerome Powell is at least 2 to 3 rate cuts behind. He should have started cutting the rates earlier, and I think that would have been the case if Donald Trump had not imposed his tariffs. Now, because of the tariffs, we have consumer products, their prices going up and that's going to cause inflation to go higher. However, Trump is still looking at the core inflation, and he wants Jerome Powell to cut rates immediately. And he has been calling him Mr. Too Late, which, he kind of is Mr. Too Late. But I guess Jerome Powell has been very resilient and stubborn, and he's been very data dependent in order for him to cut rates. Best in this. Yes, this morning actually came up in one of the mainstream media channels, and he said that he's expecting at least 150 basis points rate cut altogether from this point onward. He's expecting, of course, the market is also expecting 100% rate cut in September, 25 basis points. Then another rate cut in October possibly, and then maybe another half rate cut, sort of 2.5 rate cuts by the end of this year, maybe one extra rate cut in January. Now, we don't know if they're going to keep doing it until they reach the 150 basis points that Besant has suggested. In the next FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell is, and I think he should, cut the rates because the inflation reports have been coming off cooler for past 4 or 5 months now. Next thing I want to talk about is Donald Trump suing Jerome Powell. The reason why market collapsed or pulled back a little bit in the afternoon because Donald Trump has announced that he is going to sue Jerome Powell on building a basement under a Federal Reserve building in Washington, D.C. He made the argument that this could have been just a repaint and maybe a small fixing up a kind of job, and he has wasted so much resources. He's trying to accommodate his friends who are in the business, and he's trying to make them money, yada, 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 all that stuff. I think the problem with Donald Trump is, which of course Jerome Powell has the argument to present, that this was approved by the Congress and such and such institution, and they have the budget for it. And because in Washington D.C. there's a restriction to build at a certain height, so they had to build underground, and that's why they built the basement. And they wanted to have all their staff accommodating at the same building. All their analysts should be at the same building. That's of course going to be Jerome Powell's argument. Whereas Donald Trump is probably thinking that they're wasting the money, he's accommodating his friends, and he is building this extra building and spending extra money just to accommodate the people that we don't need. And I think the main reason why Donald Trump is doing it, because I think he wants Jerome Powell to leave. Jerome Powell's term ends next year in, I think, June or July anyway, but I think Donald Trump wants him to leave sooner than that, unless Donald Trump says, well, this lawsuit can be taken away if you start cutting the rates immediately and cut as much as I want you to cut. That could be a lawsuit waiver. But that's just, my analogy. But that's what Donald Trump has announced, that he's going to sue Jerome Powell. I don't know how he's going to sue a federal official who have the ability to make these kind of renovations. Of course, he didn't just come out of nowhere and started spending the money. They have to have the approval from the Congress, from everybody. But Donald Trump is the king. He thinks he can just rule and he can do whatever he wants to do. I'm not opposed to Jerome Powell cutting rates because I think he is behind. However, Donald Trump is doing it for reasons other than what I think. My reasons are economic reasons. His reasons are because he thinks his data is better than Jerome Powell's data, and he likes to manipulate data. And he was like he's looking at mainly core inflation that is cooler, but he's not looking at underlying problems that are starting because of Donald Trump's um, um, tariffs. And I guess he wants to hide that, and he wants to cut the rate before actually more inflation starts showing into the next month's report and reports coming the following month. And that's why he's trying to get rid of Jerome Powell. Next, he also said that he is going to have this monthly job reports disappear going forward, whereas Beston this morning said that he's not in favor of not having a job report every month, which I think at least he's at least somewhat reasonable, because job reports are very important. They kind of gives you an idea of how well the economy is doing, how the labor market is doing, and if they get away with the job reports, then we don't know. Maybe the politicians would know, but the general public would not know, and we'll be just living our life without knowing what's taking place behind the closed doors in the Federal Reserve. If you watch my videos regularly, I'm opposed to having a central bank and Federal Reserve, period. But right now, that's not the topic that we're discussing. We're discussing the topic between Jerome Powell versus Donald Trump and who's right and who's wrong. In certain places, I think Donald Trump is wrong. In some areas, Jerome Powell is obviously a little behind. He should have cut the rate, a little while ago. He's 2 to 3 rate cuts behind. I always say this. So once they start cutting the rate in September, of course, market is expecting 100%, 101% rate cut in September, and they're expecting 62%, I believe, rate cut in October. So which is kind of nice to see. I guess market wants the rates to go down. That way, of course, Federal Reserve is going to print more money. There'll be more money inflow in the economy. People will invest into the stock market, and then the stock prices will go up, and everybody makes money. Richer gets richer, and the struggling class keeps struggling. And when more money is printed, of course, we have money liquidation, which is going to cause more inflation, which us and our future generation is going to pay for that inflation that's taking place. And this vicious cycle will continue. Then they will do quantitative, they will just freeze the rates again, then they will start quantitative easing again. If you watch my videos on banking, currency, and finance, I have explained all of this, what the fiat currency does and how fiat currency is created, and how Federal Reserve and central bank are manipulating the economy in general, and how we're always on budget deficit, how the economy is being destroyed, and when the US economy is suffering, the entire world's economy is suffering. But that's, those are different topics. But for now, at least in the short term, it's going to be good news for the stock market, and stock market is going to rally, and everybody will make money if they're smart. Next thing I want to talk about is Tesla. $347 was the first level where Tesla wanted to go, and it did reach right after Elon Musk had made announcements over the past week, and I already made a video 2 days ago. I already explained why it went up. The pullback was mandatory, and it's healthy because, of course, people are going to take profit because they know the next level is $367. But before it gets to that level, it has to come down, and then more people will jump in and they will obviously buy Tesla. Elon Musk has renewed his story of robotaxi, and he said that he is going to have robotaxis up and running to almost in half the United States by the end of the year. He also said that he is going to sue Apple for not, I think, showing his XAI app properly. I read the news yesterday, but it was this very long article that I read, and I'm just, so, I don't 100% remember what I read, but it was something along the line, and Apple said that they're not manipulating, their app store is non-biased. They, of course, upload the apps, and they make the apps available to general public, to all their consumers. However, it's supposed to be. So that shows that Elon Musk is very dedicated towards his businesses. Though XAI has nothing to do with Tesla, but he said Tesla has interest in XAI because I know sometimes he pulls money from Tesla and invests into XAI. And I think as a result, Tesla stock starts surging because people see that he actually cares about Tesla. And that's why he's making all these um, announcements, and he's suing Apple for being, biased against his products, yada, yada, yada. So next stop for Tesla is going to be $367. And if it across $367, then it will go to $383, and then ultimately $400. Again, my price target for the end of the year is still 400 to 450. It could go higher, but that's the baseline. Let's see if I'm right or not by the end of the year. Next, I want to talk about NVIDIA and Palantir. I don't even know what to say, where to start. These are excellent companies. They're two different AI business models, both serving different side of the businesses. However, I think the valuation has been a little extended. I know NVIDIA, once it goes to 200, a pullback is necessary and mandatory, and it should happen. Would it happen or not? I don't know, because NVIDIA and Palantir both have been running on momentum. They're running as meme stocks. But I think their valuation is not a little extended, but very extended right now. So if you haven't gotten into these two stocks and you feel like you're missing out, I would just wait. Not a personalized financial advice, but I would just wait for them to pull back a little bit, and then you'll have a better opportunity to get in. Uber has been, going back and forth between mid 80s to like 90, 91, $92. And the reason being is I know they had planned to buy 20,000 vehicles from Waymo by the in next 10 years, I believe it was. They're SUVs, but consumers, everybody got excited over Uber investing and finally owning their own fleet of vehicles. But of course, 10 years seems like a long time. So investors don't have the patience to wait that long. They obviously take advantage of the buy the news kind of event. Buy the rumor kind of event, and then they sell the news once they know, okay, where it's going to go. But I think ultimately Uber stock is going to go to much higher than where it is now. Bank of America has issued their price target for Uber at $115, where it is right now between $89, $90, $91. So if you haven't gone into Uber, it's a good time to buy, because you can still make $20, $25 on Uber stock in the next coming few weeks or maybe couple months, which isn't bad. What else do you want to talk about? Obviously, all these mega seven stocks are doing wonderful. I want to talk about small caps a little bit. Small caps are back into that 2021 stock market mania, where the stocks will run 200, 300%, 500%, 1000%, even at some point 2500%. I remember there was one stock in 2021 which ran 2500% in one day, and I felt missing out because I wasn't part of that run. But now there are lots of stocks that, and those like small caps, mostly penny stocks. But they're very volatile. There are people who are making lots of money, but I don't have the patience for it. I obviously get anxiety from such a big run within a day. Like a stock starts at $3 and it closes at like $18 in one day. That's like 600-700% profit. Good for those who know how to trade these stocks, but to me, that's pure gambling. I have tried to play those couple times with my friend, and now I'm a bag holder because I obviously don't know how to play those stocks. But if you're very good at playing small cap penny stocks, I think this is a good opportunity to make lots of money. There are some people who are building wealth by trading these stocks, but religiously, I'm not allowed to trade those because this is considered gambling. And in my religion, which is Islam, gambling is haram, meaning is prohibited. So I try to stay away from those kind of stocks, because more speculative it is, more dangerous they are, and more chances you have of losing money. And that's why it's considered gambling, and gambling is highly prohibited in my religion. So I try not to take part into the sin stocks and into the stocks which will be considered gambling. I rather do midterm to long-term investments. I don't mind doing swing trades on stocks like maybe QBTS or Pony AI or things like that, which are not very volatile, because those you can buy, hold for a couple of weeks, then sell them at a little bit of profit. 5, 7, 10%, which is still very good, because if you invest in S&P 500, the maximum on average you make between 12 and 17% for the whole year. So even if you're making 10% profit in a couple of weeks, or even in a week, or even in a month, you're still beating the S&P 500 in the long run anyway. So I don't mind doing those because they're not highly speculative, and then they're not considered the gambling stocks. Whereas these volatile, the stocks that run 500,000% in a day, they are going to be very dangerous. And there are all people who lose lots of money on those. So be very mindful and be very careful of on trading those kind of stocks. If you really like to trade, I know it's fun. I rather do swing trade on like somewhat medium range stocks, like maybe 10, 15, $20 stock versus like just under $5 stocks, because those are very dangerous. Next thing I want to talk about is what's going to happen once the rate cut. I think I already talked about it, so I just don't want to waste more time on this. So anyways, what am I doing next week? And this week, obviously, I'm still holding all my positions. There are some small cap stocks that I've been holding for a while. They were like heavy bags for me. Those were penny stocks that I bought, a year ago, and then I lost so much money and I didn't want to sell them. So this year I've decided to average them down, and as they run, I just get out of them. So I'm recovering all of those, and that's what I'm doing. Those are the only ones I'm selling right now. Or sometimes I will buy like mid cap stocks, like $15, $20 share, $20 stock. I would just hold them for a couple of weeks, and I would sell them by making 10, 15% profit. But that's the only ones I'm selling. All my large positions that I'm holding, I'm still holding those. Particularly my large position, I have Tesla, I have Xpeng, I have Neo, I have Baba, XYZ, the large companies. Those are I'm still holding, and then whenever I get a chance, I try to dollar cost average so I can extend my position and I can make the most out of it. Tesla, as I told you guys before, if it hits 400, I'm going to sell small position because my sister's money I'm investing into, and I'm going to give her profit back. The rest I will hold until at least $500, $600. I will keep you guys posted. Still bullish. I don't know which way Donald Trump's tariff deal is going to go. The other thing I want to talk about, our tariff deal with China. I know Trump has been trying to negotiate with China, but China is very hard to negotiate with. They're very good at negotiation, and their society is not very ADHD like our society. They have more patience built into them than we as Americans have it. So if we can't, and China knows that they have the upper hand because of the semiconductor. Because if Donald Trump raises its tariff on China, then China can ultimately raise tariff, because China knows the U.S. totally depends on China for the semiconductor. Unless we start building it in our country, which is going to take a long time, we're not ready for it. We just got into this trade war without even having a backup once again. And that's the story of our country always. And I think that's kind of causing a loss of uncertainty in the market still, even though market has been brushing off all these tariffs and Jerome Powell and Donald Trump drama, but still we do have small hiccups down the road. It's kind of holding market back a little bit. Some of the investors have lots of money sitting on the sideline. They're not putting their money into the market because they just want to see and wait. When the time is right, then they will bring all their money into the stock market. That's when the real rally will begin. But anyways, I'm still bullish. I think everything is going to be fine. Market is bullish. I don't think we're going to hit recession, not at all. Donald Trump's tariff is going to maybe have a little bit of inflation, underlying inflation, which is going to affect the consumers, because I know all the retail has been dumping all the inflation, the tariff inflation onto consumers. They've already added that into the prices. So ultimately, we, the common man, suffers from whatever these politicians do. So we have to raise our voices, and we have to be smart how we spend our money and how we invest in the stock market. So be very careful when you're investing into the market. Be very careful not to just put the money into the market which you need urgent, or it's your money for emergency, because before you know it, you might be just stuck in the market and won't be able to take that money out, or then you'll have to take a loss, which is still not wise thing to do. Please keep my video. Please give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel. Give my video a thumbs up until next one. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Go out and make some money.